Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the eDiscovery Channel. Tom O'Connor in post-apocalyptic Jazz Fest, New Orleans, where we're all still just, and they're still cleaning up. They're still knocking down tents and taking stuff away. It looks like they'll be done, I guess, by the end of the week, and we'll have our neighborhood back. Uh, but I'm really happy to have with me once again. You may be setting the record for most times being interviewed by me here.
This is this,
Like
this is what I get for being in Louisiana.
that's it.
I'm
You're
local.
no, it's what you get for being knowledgeable and posting about this stuff. And not saying AI good. Um, Mike, for those of you who don't know, Mike McBride is the IG and compliance manager located in the Baton Rouge office of Bricker, Graydon, and Wyatt. Are you the Baton Rouge office?
Yeah, the Baton Rouge office is basically my house. Yeah.
So for those of you who are wandering the streets of Baton Rouge looking for Bricker, Graydon, you got to call Mike to
Yeah.
find out where it is.
And I'll point you to Memphis, Nashville, Louisville, some of our newer offices that are a
Right.
little closer.
Where is HQ for what is their home office?
So the depends on who you ask because we've merged a couple of times. So
Just
if
like the
you're
Fight
old
Club, but you can't talk about it.
if you're an old school Bricker employee, it's in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah,
you
yeah. I had something in the back of my mind
Yeah,
about Ohio.
if
Yeah.
you came in through the merger with Graydon Head, it's Cincinnati. And if you've come in through the more recent uh, merger with Wyatt Tarrant Combs, it's Louisville. So
Ah.
it's somewhere between those three.
and and this is just general curiosity. Any offices in the Northeast or the West? I mean, any other offices? Or is it mostly a South Central firm?
It is Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
Straight down that pipeline. So I'm one of the outliers, a remote employee who lives in a completely different state. I'm not the only one. We've some other ones, but
You didn't want to
uh,
move to Ohio, Mike? I can't believe.
I've spent 25 years in Ohio, and I
Oh,
never
did you?
want to see snow again.
Where were you?
Columbus.
Columbus. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I just got off the phone earlier today with Bill Sparrows. I don't know if you know Bill, but he's a consultant. He lives up in Cleveland, um, and often says the same thing. Like, what am I still doing here? Not this time of year as much as. Although he did say it's still. He said spring hasn't really sprung up there yet. It's still chilly, and down here, we're going to be in the 80s today.
Yeah, mid July, I'm usually like, Columbus wasn't so bad.
I say the same thing about Vermont. Yeah, Vermont's beautiful in July.
In
Uh,
July.
yeah, yeah. But where I grew up in upstate Vermont, we had snow on the ground by Halloween. I
Yeah,
mean, you put your galoshes on to go trick or treat.
absolutely.
So, anyways, I wanted to talk to you because you had a fascinating. I forget if it was a post or a LinkedIn comment. You posted something online somewhere. The multitude of you of venues on the internet. I can't keep track of them. But you were talking about the pricing framework and structure of AI and posing the question, how does anybody make money doing at the pricing
Yeah.
that it's going for? And and primarily you mentioned that you had just come back from the Evolve conference and people were talking about this. It was there. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You can
Mhm.
describe what happened, but there was some sort of a buzz going on that people are starting to say, are they making money? Is this sustainable? Are these big companies living on the edge, or is Microsoft going to end up buying all of these guys? I mean, what's going on here? So maybe you could begin, if you would, by first of all telling people what the Evolve conference is.
Sure. So the Evolve conference is a ILTA event. Um, I'd say it's similar to the ILTA conference, the big conference in August, but it is very focused, right? So there's only two tracks,
Ah,
AI and security. That's it.
and what?
AI and security. That's all you get, right? So much smaller. In fact, one of the I was a session coordinator. I was on the volunteer committee, so I got to hear a lot of the feedback, and one of the things I heard from a lot of people was that this conference has grown to about 500 attendees, but maybe stop there, right? We don't want this to be ILTACon.
Right.
This is different.
You could bleed into Ilticon. Where was it this year? Or does it?
I it was at the Gaylord Rockies, which I want to say is Denver, but it's really out by the Denver airport, which is not
Oh,
Denver.
which is in Canada, right? As far as
Yeah.
I can tell. Yeah, from the several times I've
Yeah.
stopped there.
The Uber drive to downtown to get dinner wasn't cheap. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Oh, I've experienced it several times. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
And
But a
is it
really
there
nice.
every year? Is that
No,
the same? No, okay. Okay.
no. So in fact, next year it'll be in Savannah. So very, very different environment.
Oh,
So
beautiful. You ever been there?
I have been to Savannah. I love Savannah.
Lovely town.
Yes.
Lovely, lovely town. That's a great place to have it because it'll expose people to one of the true jewels of the South. Um,
Indeed.
yeah, in case you haven't seen Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which also exposed it, but in a whole different
Yeah, that was a little different.
light. Oh, well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, similar to Ilticon, but smaller. Two topics only, two tracks, AI and security. 1 day, 2 days,
3 days.
3 days. So you're
Yeah.
doing some deep dive into those subjects.
Yeah, really, it was really good. And I think, not to be biased, but to be biased, the two sessions that I was coordinating had a bunch of folks talking about governance, data governance with AI, monitoring AI, testing AI. How do you know when that AI tool that you bought 6 months ago made a drastic change to the technology that now doesn't fit with what you were trying to do? Like, just
This
really
sounds
interesting.
this sounds exactly like the CLE I did yesterday on AI at the New Orleans bar, or I was saying, yeah, you got to have some sort of validation, and it's an ongoing, it's a process. It's not a one and done. Um,
No, yeah,
especially
it's
the products are changing, but if you integrate things into your workflow, are any of those materials available anywhere, or is that only the attendee?
uh I believe Ilta members, the on the Evolve website, you should be able to get the recordings and some of the decks.
Okay, good. Well, we'll make sure that get that word out because that sounds like crucial stuff and something we haven't heard enough of. How
Mhm.
long has it been going on?
It's a good question because I think it used to be legal sec, or like it used to be a
Oh,
security conference,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. Sure, I remember that name.
They turned it into Evolve maybe 3, 4 years ago, and they added AI a couple years ago. The idea was that the topics would maybe change, but I think we're stuck with AI for a while. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah. Well, again, I talked about this yesterday. For people who think that AI is a product, so you know this. Saying that I use AI is saying that I listen to music. It doesn't tell you anything about what you're doing, nothing
Yep.
whatsoever. And so, yeah, I don't know that if we're stuck with it. Some of the essential things or the integrated things that AI is doing, where it's being built into things, I think are being done pretty well and are evolving pretty well. In our space, the litigation space, the whole issue of you know managing large document sets, document review, culling through that, hallucinations, um, you know, Gen AI and LLMs. That's problematic to me. That's not as secure and as locked down as everybody thinks it is. And so,
Mhm.
in many cases, we are stuck with that. Although, um, I'll pick your brain in another month or two. There's a couple of new, Herb Royplat's got a new product out, which is not based on tokens, which I read the description of it. My ears started bleeding. Um, I mean, you start reading this computer science stuff. So I think we'll get somewhere there. But yeah, I think obviously AI is here to stay. It's a tool and it's being integrated. Different versions or flavors are being used in different ways, and rightfully so. So yeah, I think that's a good match. AI and
Yeah.
security. And in
Yeah.
security, were there sessions or discussion about um, privilege and confidentiality, those sorts of things?
A lot of data breach sort of conversations. I mean, not so much like identifying confidentiality, but when you have that, I mean, this is law firms. There's a ton of confidential information laying around,
Yeah,
and just how do you protect that, and how do you know it got out? If it leaks somewhere, how do you know?
Yeah,
How do you monitor that?
yeah.
So yeah, definitely a lot of concern about data breaches, ransomware. How do you how do you recover? How do you,
And how do you explain that to the bar association if you didn't
it's not
really
fun.
understand it in the first place, right?
Yeah,
that's a that's a fear. Um,
for
so
sure.
okay, well that all sounds great. I actually you had talked to me about it. And this year it happened to interfere with Jazz Fest, and well, that was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that was just a no brainer.
Yeah. I could only go the first week at Jazz Fest. I had to be in Denver.
So you may let's see, it was we rained out on the first
No,
Friday.
the only time we got rain was Saturday night during Stevie Nicks,
Stevie
which
Nicks, yeah, and that
was
wasn't
great.
a heavy rain, right?
Nah,
It was
not the
steady, but
rain. The rain y'all got that second weekend was
oh,
way worse.
yeah, that was yeah, that was tropical rain. The tropical,
Yes.
I got all these people coming in, friends coming in from like San Diego. It's like, what's going on? I said, welcome to New Orleans, man.
Yeah.
It'll be
This
fine
is the
tomorrow. Trust me,
as
tomorrow will be
as
beautiful.
as someone said to us on Saturday, like this is the real Jazz Fest. That nice weather you had yesterday, that's not really Jazz
Yeah,
Fest.
it wouldn't be Jazz Fest without a deluge of some sort
That's
or another.
you got some mud. Now this is really Jazz Fest.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, on where I live on Fortin Street, the Fortin Street side, they had redone the street 2 years ago and put in all new storm drains. So we had excellent drainage, not just for people who live there, but everybody waiting in line who used to have to wait in knee deep water. Um, they were their boots or their mud
Yep.
shoes were doing the job for them. So that
Yeah.
was good. That was good. So okay, so um, and will Evolve be at roughly the same time? Well, am I doomed never to go to Evolve?
No, I think they're moving it to early April next year, actually. So potentially you might have a reason to go visit Savannah again.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. So okay, good, 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 good. So talk to me about the pricing then. The thing that triggered this all.
So
What's the dealio?
so it's a discussion I've seen in a couple of different places even before Evolve. Uh, Kind of online, a few people kind of talking about, hey, this per seat pricing model doesn't really make sense. Ed Zitron in his newsletter had a ridiculously long breakdown of the pricing and details, and he just talked about how you look at ChatGPT's like the $20 a month level or Copilot's $30 a month level, right? And he's like, if you really sat and used it all month, the compute power, right? The tokens and all the compute energy, it costs them so much more than that
Oh,
to do
if you use
that.
it one
This
day out of the
doesn't
month,
make sense.
right? Yeah. I mean, just so people will know, AI, correct me if I'm being overly simplistic here. AI isn't based on per gig usage, it's based on per token usage. A token is, I believe, an artificial construct of the algorithms, which can
Mhm.
differ from company to company. But a token is basically a chunk of data. I've read somewhere that the average word, um, um, 3/4 of a word can be a token. Of course,
Yeah,
that depends on whether the word is gold or chapatoulas. But the point is, it's tokens, and tokens accumulate at a certain price. And on the face of it, it's really cheap. I think OpenAI is something like $10 per million tokens. And that sounds great. Well, that's cool. The problem is if a word isn't even a whole token, those
right.
million tokens add up, and
It,
they bill you going in and out, right?
absolutely,
Input
yeah.
and output
The
is
data coming
billed.
in, the data coming out,
Yes,
it's all what they kind of refer to as compute, right? It's
yeah,
the power necessary to run the algorithm, run the LLM, to process your request, feed stuff back. And you're right. Or it sounds like a lot. You're like, oh, it's $10 per million tokens. Like, okay, cool. I I've only seen this once, and I don't remember where it was, but it was some tool that was kind of like as I ran through prompts and got responses at the bottom, it would tell me how many tokens I used, right?
right.
I don't remember where it was. It wasn't a typical tool, but half an hour just going back and forth with Copilot was like 6,000 tokens.
Yeah. I had
So they add up.
yeah, I had a stat here that said if you were if you were building, summarizing, reviewing, and editing a 50-page document in AI, $350 would be if you revise it a few times. Okay. So if you're getting it for $20 a month, they've already lost money on you in one document,
Yeah.
right? Um, so yeah, so what's the fear here? That these guys are going to go
So
under, that they're going to change their pricing, and all of a sudden we have to
uh,
pay.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely both. I think, the people I talk to in law firms, the fear is on both sides, right? We invested in this product and this product is going to disappear. Could happen. Like the bubble bursts, everybody goes away from that pricing model, and these products just start dying off, right? And suddenly this tool that we've been using is gone. The other flip side of that is if you are dealing with one of the bigger ones and you're like, they're not going anywhere. Google's not going anywhere. Microsoft's not going anywhere.
Right.
OpenAI is probably not going anywhere, although you never know, right? It's more of the, okay, this doesn't work. Your pricing is about to go up 300, 500%.
It's going to be like crack.
Yeah.
The first one was free, and
Yeah,
now
like you've been doing it for $30 a month. The per seat licensing doesn't work. We're going to start charging you per token,
right,
right? It's going to be a consumption model, which
right.
does in a law firm that does a lot, right? To not know how much it's going to cost is a massive issue. Um, I deal with budgets and I look at something like that and I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that.
And had
I have no idea what to do with that in a
yeah,
budget.
yeah. I mean, it's like we're working in a black box, um, and um, and just out of curiosity, the anthropomorphic announcement about their legal. I almost wanted to say Borg, the Borg-like atmosphere, but I won't. Um, um, had that announcement been made at Evolve, or did it happen
It had
after?
not. That happened this week,
Yeah.
in fact.
So you just
Um,
wonder again, how, yeah, how things like that. And I haven't dove into it. My understanding is they're selling it through partners, like they're giving it to relative, not giving it. They're selling it to Relativity and Concilio and Epic and yada yada yada, which also means that then it's going to get balkanized. They're not all going to look the same, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. But how many of these engines are there underneath all of these other products that are out there? Aren't there only a handful?
there really are. Like the cost to build a huge LLM like that is pretty prohibitive. Like it's not something you and I can just hook up a server in the living room and start doing.
Right.
Right. This is the
As
whole
we watch,
reason.
and if I did, I'd watch my electric bill go through the
Oh,
roof, right?
Jesus. Yeah. Well, and that's, yeah, I mean, that then we could talk about data centers for hours. But that's essentially what's happening, right? You have to build all this data center, you have to have all of this computing power, all the RAM. That's why nobody can buy RAM for your personal machine anymore because they sold it all to these
Yeah,
data centers,
yeah,
right? It's a crazy amount of resources to build these things out. So yeah, there's not going to be a ton of them. But with the Anthropic, the thing I find interesting about the Anthropic having come from Evolve, just to kind of side tangent for a second,
yeah.
um, are the connectors, right? So that's what they're calling kind of the partners are like, oh, we'll sell you connectors. And they were like, we got connectors into like NetDocs and iManage. And I thought,
Right, right.
that's gonna get ugly for some people because they don't clean up that data.
Interesting.
Law firms are not always real good at getting rid of old data that lives in their document management systems. So like if you just plug AI into that, what's that going to look like?
Yeah. Again? I see the electric meter going. "Mm."
Yeah. And how many 20, 25-year-old documents are going to, spit out absolute truth that's 25 years old?
Right, right. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. How are you going to build guardrails around the? Yeah. So that raises in my mind, well, two questions. The first one is, are we going to start to see some more specialized training in just like we have Microsoft certified engineers? Aren't we going to need to have Anthropic or OpenAI certified engineers to be able to set that stuff up? Um, or is it just going to be handled like if Relativity has a deal with them, they go and get training for their people? You think
Yeah,
it's going to stay more private?
it's a really good question. I think that to the thing we were talking about with Evolve, right? In terms of how do you keep track of these tools? How do you keep track of the changes? Because changes they change fast and often. Um, and I'm not sure that most legal law firms, I mean, there's a few, but most of them just don't have the resources to keep up. I don't know how you do that. And so I think there's a lot that will kind of fall out over the next few years in terms of how that workflow creates. Like I don't know how many law firms are going to invest in having a AI engineer on staff ready to program and build agents
So
that'll solve all your problems, or
they'll
you're going
leave
to
it
have
to
to find
the
someone who can do it.
right.
Yeah,
They'll leave it to the third parties and
yeah,
and contract with them. Yeah. Um, okay, that makes sense. So then the larger question is what you just said. What happens, if there's a the teapot dome scandal, a boom and a bust. If there's only a handful of underlying companies, it would seem to me that if usual economic models come into play, um, they'll they'll get bought up. I mean, Microsoft already has relationships. I mean, don't they own like 40% of OpenAI? And
something like that.
yeah, and they just, I think 6 months or so ago, didn't they enter into an agreement with Anthropic? Um,
Yep. So when you're
they've
in
already been
Copilot,
diversifying their underlying structure.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
I
So
have to think maybe Google did the same. Um,
yeah, I mean, I'm not as familiar with Google. I know that Microsoft, in Copilot now, you can choose to use an OpenAI LLM or Claude in certain areas of
oh,
the
interesting.
infrastructure.
Okay, it's
There's
actually it's
even
actually a menu choice.
Yeah, so there's even within they even have an agent that lets you combine both of them in such a way that you can get the response back from one engine and then use the other to critique it, which I find hysterical.
But but think about it. And this came up again in my CLE yesterday. It's like the early days of OCR. It became a very common tactic to run documents against an OCR engine and then run them against two or three and compare
Yeah,
the OCR engine. So that's really not that unheard of,
no,
you know, theoretically.
yeah,
Um, Obviously, a way more expensive thing to do in this arena. But so, I mean, in the back of my mind is, yeah, this is all going to become untenable for these companies financially, and Microsoft and Google are going to buy them,
mhm,
or um, who knows? IBM. I mean, some giant companies are going to start buying these guys and just make, and then the pricing's like whatever the hell they want it to be, right? Because you don't have that diversity
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, and I think that so for me, I was going into Evolve sort of in that mindset of how is this going to blow up and how and when you look at a budget, like, and if you start looking, and Microsoft, there are certain things in Copilot that are consumption based. And I really try to ignore them because I don't know how to deal with the budgets. um, but and so I had that frame of mind. I went into Evolve, and I wish I remember who I heard say it. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was during a, it was just sort of an offhand comment, right? That I don't remember if I overheard it in a conversation or somebody said it from the stage, but it was essentially like, oh, it'll become like Westlaw used to be in legal research. And suddenly in my mind I
You
went,
mean good?
oh, no, like you're working on a client matter, you do the research, it costs you X amount of dollars, and you bill it back to the client.
You bill it back to the client. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, that solves my budget problem
Well,
because
that could
I'm
very well
billing
be,
that
right?
back to the client.
That would be a solution, right? Yeah, we had to use AI to um, clients, of course, have always been resistant to passing along software charges, but it is a brave new world. I
Mhm.
mean, that would be an interesting concept. Um, we did this, but we had to use this tool, and when we use this tool, we have to charge you a premium. Yeah, I could
Yeah,
see
this
that.
is this is how
Um,
much compute costs, consumption costs we incurred on your matter. Here's the bill. And clients are going to hate it. I'm under no delusion about that.
yeah, or law firms will eat it and raise their hourly rates. You
Yeah.
know, I could see that as. I mean, it's hard to believe they can at the AmLaw 100 can raise their rates any more than they have already. Um, um, but that's that there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of pushback from the Fortune 500 on AmLaw 100 billing rates. Um, so it may be that they'll absorb it and just they'll pass the cost on, but it'll be in the hourly rate, not in a
Yeah.
a specific surcharge. Um, so that'd be interesting. Um, yeah, so it's going to be an interesting next 12, 18 months to see how this all how it all sorts out. Um, and then the other thing is, and was there any discussion of this? Um, Small LMs,
Mhm.
not LLMs, but SLMs. Microsoft already has a couple of small language models out there. And he says that they might be able to fill some of this gap, that there's a, it hasn't come to crunch time yet, but if it does, SLMs might be able to help there.
Potentially, I will say that the discussion I heard about small language models or MCPs or various different um, targeted collect almost like doing an e-discovery, like a very targeted collection of data that you're
Right,
going to run AI against, right?
right.
Um, it's intriguing to me working in the information governance space. It's very intriguing because, like I said, my biggest thing is if you connect Copilot to every bit of data you've ever had for the last 30 years, you're not going to get good results.
It's interesting when all of these discussions first came up 3, 4 years ago. I remember. Do you know Gene Eames? Gene was at Pfizer.
I don't.
He was the data guy at Pfizer. He had been with one of the three-letter lit support companies that went under back in the day years ago. But anyways, he just retired. He and his wife were here at Jazz Fest, and we were talking about that. I said, I distinctly remember Gene, you saying at a CLE in New York once when we were talking about this, the problem you just said. We're boiling the ocean here. We're trying to boil the ocean. We can't throw these tools at these enormous internal data sets. But that's what an SLM would really help with, right? I can I can cut it out. I can take the data on this particular case or a smaller matter, whatever, and instead of using the LLM, obviously it would be, if it was Pfizer, they have the resources to do that. Um, but that might be a potential solution as well. You have a two-tiered approach, and let's cut the data down to a
Mhm.
smaller set that I'm going to use in this particular case, and we just work with it there, and use the SLM. Again, not something that everybody could afford to do, but it's going to
Yeah.
be some interesting stuff. So you and I could talk about this forever. So um, I can hear people nodding off already, thunking of heads hitting the
Oh
table.
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Let me ask you, anything else discussed at Evolve? I was just talking with our friends at the San Diego Paralegal Association, um, and um, uh, I forget which one of them said it, but somebody said to ask about a session by Charisma Star. Do you know what she was talking
Yes. Yes. Charisma did a session on using AI as a neurodivergent person. at work. Was fascinating. It really, really was.
Well, explain what that means.
So
I hear Robbie.
I'm gonna butcher this, and you should
You
just
say that, and I
have her
hear
on the
Robbie the
show.
robot. You know,
Yeah, yeah. No, I am gonna butcher this, and you should just call her. But I'll give it an attempt. No, the idea of kind of using AI to understand communication, because right when you have an employee who's neurodivergent, and we all have people who we work with who are neurodivergent, whether we know it or not. Um, but being able to use AI to say, hey, I've got this person who is neurodivergent. This is the way they learn. Help me write an email that makes sense to them. Or if I'm neurodivergent and I get an email, or I'm in a meeting and I'm like, I don't understand what that person's trying to say. They're conveying it in a way that I don't get the emotion behind it. Like, help me understand this, right? And just kind of prompting Copilot or whatever tool to say, here's the transcript. Like, tell me what was the emotional impact here?
sort of like
Uh,
when I use Notebook LM sometimes to take a whole bunch of my notes and transcripts from things like this, and I throw them all in, and I say, give me an outline of all of this stuff on this subject, bullet points, but use my voice.
yeah,
Don't make it an academic sounding thing. Pick up my voice from my emails in my transcript. Something like that.
yeah, yeah, and being very kind of
Wow.
intentional about saying, don't communicate this in the way that I do with this team member, communicate it differently
Yeah. Don't
because of these things, right? Communicate it differently to them. That's going to help them
don't talk to
understand
the
it better.
client the way I talk to my staff.
Exactly, right? My client and I one of the attorneys who works at the firm I work in, she specializes, does trainings on dealing with neurodivergent employees all the time. And so she is and has also like I have seen her uh do presentations and sort of understand that, oh yeah, there are people around us who just think differently than we do. Like their brains just work differently, and I mean it's true.
Oh,
I
hey,
often think about that.
as a
I
recovering
look at
alcoholic, I can sympathize with that totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
as somebody who has dealt with mental health issues, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That doesn't surprise me in the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and so the title for that, the wrapper for that is neurodivergence.
Yeah. So
Wow.
neurodivergence can be, it really kind of, I think, and again, I'm going to butcher this. I am not an expert, but I'm going to it really kind of, when you think about people who at work are dealing with things like ADHD, autism spectrum, they're there, right? They are right there at work. Their brains are working slightly different than we are. Somebody's had a brain injury. One of the things that I know Laura, the attorney I work with, she talks a lot about somebody who had a brain injury and just like
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
brain works differently.
Yeah.
Not any less smart, but just different.
Oh, and I think
And
about it in terms of just left brain, right brain, people who are really mathematically adept, and people like me, who are more vocally adept. Growing up in the Irish section of Boston, we learned to weaponize words.
Mhm.
Many of us, and I don't know if it's an Irish trait, if it's genetic or not, but we weren't necessarily good in math, but we were really good in words, and we learned to use language. So yeah, that's really interesting. People who are more analytic versus people who are more empathetic, more emotional. Yeah, that's really interesting. What's scary about that is training computers to understand that.
right. And
Do we want to give
yeah,
them that knowledge?
well,
No,
at the same, I mean, at the same time, you're talking about, when you think about the LM, it does have access to all the academic resources, all the research.
yeah,
I can ask it, hey, what's the best way to communicate this point
yeah. How's the
to
best way to
someone?
present this to this
Yeah.
audience, to this person? Um, yeah, yeah. If I'm speaking to a group of lawyers versus a group of computer scientists, I think you're right. I would, the issues of presentation and abrasiveness and and confrontation. How do I approach it? Yeah, that's really, really fascinating. So then you can build up your own sort of neurodivergent profiles in your own firm or business.
Mhm.
Wow. And so Charisma gave a session on that.
Yeah, I mean, she spent an entire hour on it, so I'm obviously doing it no justice at all in
Yeah.
the 5 minute
Well,
description of it.
I just
Um,
checked my notes and it was Sheila Grella who asked me about it. Was Sheila at the conference? Yeah, Sheila was
no,
at the conference.
was
I'm
she?
sorry.
Was she? I missed Sheila there. That's kind
Yeah,
of
so
sad.
I don't know.
Well,
She asked him, maybe she was because she knew I was speaking to you and you're doing something for them tomorrow, right? You're
yep,
doing a webinar. And she said, yeah, be sure to ask him about Charisma Stars presentation. So maybe she's trying to get some info on it as
yeah.
well.
No, it was
Um,
really good. And
Interesting.
I
And
highly recommend
what,
having.
if you know, what got her interested in that? Is that something she's been working on or
I
just
don't
piqued her
know.
interest?
I'm gonna assume that, and she during the intro she explained that, but I had to be on a work phone call, so I missed the intro.
Yeah,
So I'm
fascinating.
just gonna come clean.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll come up again at ILTA this summer. ILTACon is in Memphis? No,
Nashville, the
Nashville.
Opryland.
Nashville. It's all
Yep.
Tennessee to me. You know.
Ah, I get it. Don't tell
As
anybody in Tennessee, though.
years ago, I had a meeting with the clerk of the state Supreme Court here in Louisiana about online records, and he said, "Well, we're doing that ourselves, and we're going to do, Orleans Parish, then we're going to go to Baton Rouge, Lafayette, out to Lake Charles." And I said, "Well, I can't help but notice you're doing a straight line across I-10 there." And he looked at me quite seriously and said, "Son, north of I-10, it's all Arkansas to me."
I, I have I have family that lives north of I-10, so
I think it's
I live a little bit north of I-10, so
you just a bit, but close enough. Close enough. All I care about is what's the pie company on the way to Alexandria? There's a great
Oh, I do know the one you're talking about. I don't
yeah.
remember the name of it, but I do know the one you're
I
talking
had a
about.
Ubix pie for breakfast this morning, so that's all I got on my brain is
Hmm.
Ubix pie. But there's a great pie place
Just
heading
out,
north.
just outside of Alexandria, I
Yeah,
think on Route 71.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Of course, I'll think of it the minute we get offline. But
Yeah.
anyway. All right. Well, I'll be respectful of your time and let you go here. I really
Uh,
appreciate the feedback. Will you be at ILTACon, you think?
I will. I'm
Okay.
speaking actually.
I'm, I'm,
The
I'm planning
Microsoft
on,
session.
yeah, I'm planning on going off. I used to say it's easy because it's a cheap flight on Southwest. I don't know if that's the case anymore now that
I
Southwest has made themselves a big boys airline. Um, but that's my hope. And I like Nashville. Nashville's a great town.
yeah, the whole Opera Design Resort is
Yeah, yeah.
it's
And in
phenomenal
fact, I
city.
usually stay downtown, and not at the Opryland Pentagon
Yeah,
bunker.
it's hard to leave.
Yeah. And then I forget what it was. Oh, like yeah, the entrance is like the first day Uber wouldn't drop us off at the back. They dropped us off in front at the lobby, and then you still had to walk a mile and a half to get to the back of the building, right? Oh
It's
man,
a hike.
it's a that's a quite a facility, um, but it's always a great conference. So yeah, look forward to seeing you there. If I don't run into you around town, of course, Baton Rouge. That's like it's like going to a separate country. Baton Rouge and New Orleans,
Yeah.
especially
As
now that all the politicians in New Orleans are under duress and threat of being replaced by the state. We're going to replace your mayor.
by the
Talk about
politicians to your
neurodivergence. We need we need some neurodivergent skills there.
something
All
something
right,
something
Mike.
something.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. And you piqued my interest about Evolve. I really want to let me know as soon as you hear about a date for that because I want to
Okay.
see if
I
I can.
think I've got him somewhere. I'll send him to you.
Oh yeah, if you find it, send it to me.
Yeah.
I'd really be interested. Yeah. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, yeah. Good deal.
All right, man. All right,
Thanks
take
again,
care.
Mike, and thanks everybody for listening in.